Step 2, what's the how? So I've put it into 3 simple steps. I know when I was learning and looking at cultural relationships for responsive pedagogy, it was almost like this holy grail of an end outcome that no one could find yet. And I was trying to simplify it down for educators, even for myself, to help us shift towards that pedagogy model for the benefit of our students. So I put into 3 steps to enable culturally responsive practice in the classroom. Step 1, learn how to use technology tools and applications effectively and fluently. A major part of my job as a facilitator is helping our teachers build that fluency with their learning tools, whether it be Chromebooks or iPads, and then how to use the applications within their iPads and within their Google or Microsoft systems to design curriculum long-term or in a longitudinal sort of approach for students to drive the process of learning longitudinal instead of short activities with some purpose. If we plan in a longitudinal manner, we will help with giving the agency to our students from our lowest student in the classroom to extending our highest student in the classroom. Step 2, learn how to adapt curriculum effectively to enable student agency in the learning process. So this enables a shift in pedagogy and therefore gives the teacher time to shift the role and the ability for culturally responsive relationships and responsive pedagogy to occur more effectively due to having more time to respond and react in the different roles needed in today's classroom. So for example, if I am leading a learning session, the students need to come and see me for the knowledge, for the process of learning, because they need me to enable the next steps for them. If I was able to adapt the curriculum learning activities longitudinal, I suggest over a term or 5 weeks as a minimum, students can see their progress throughout the learning, and they can also see the end goals or the end outcomes of what they are trying to achieve. Step 3, learn how to build culturally responsive relationships and responsive pedagogy in the classroom while students are driving their own learning journey and experiences. This is where other roles can be developed as students have agency and is student-centric, so the teacher can shift from being a teacher leading the learning process to more of a facilitator next to the students in the process of learning, a questioner, feedback provider, counsellor, personal development coach, behaviour specialist, and whāngai parent, with the time to develop these roles effectively and sustainably. So a little blurb here, as stated in the research by Mary Berryman and her team on the homepage, culturally responsive practice can take different forms. The form that I promote and facilitate in classroom spaces as a facilitator, in curriculum adaptation, local curriculum redesign, student efficacy, engagement, agency and success, integrates technology and adapts curriculum design longitudinal over a longer period of time, thinking of your lowest and your highest student in the class and what you want them to achieve over that period of time for the curriculum units, for whatever it is you want to achieve within your teaching and learning space and for your school. Effective curriculum redesign and technology integration, so on the SEMAR model along the redesign and redefinition, this will consequently enable student agency in the learning process. The student agency is built from curriculum redesign that is planned longitudinal, where the technology integration enables the learning to be student-driven through video screencasts, accessible digital exemplars, audio and video files, and learning access on any device. Teacher-centric and teacher-driven to student-centric and student-driven learning. This is highlighted in the research article on the front page by Mary Berryman, as there will be resistance, questions and time required for the shift to occur effectively but also sustainably. I put in the word sustainably in there because when things get a little bit tough, when the growth mindset turns to more of a fixed mindset, we as people and as well as educators revert back to old teaching habits because it's things that we know, and so I put in there effectively and sustainably. The agency in the learning process gives time to the teacher to respond better to each student's learning needs, including behaviour, support and other care needs. This in turn forms better relationships with the student, being able to give one-to-one support, not only learning and behaviour standards, but also personal development with the student. The best personal development to start with any student and every student is most definitely a growth mindset to overcome learning barriers, behaviour barriers, and all the rest of it. So these are new aspects to consider, grow and develop over a process of time. It won't happen overnight, won't happen over a few weeks. It takes some time. And it takes time because we need to rewire our previous teaching methods and responses from teacher-centric to student-centric. Just like the ero whakatauki, ko te tamaite te pūtake o te kaupapa. The child, the heart of the matter. This principle should be applied when redesigning curriculum and learning activities and shifting pedagogy and most importantly mindsets within ourselves as educators. We have to remember that we hold or have held the power in our classroom from whenever teaching and learning began, and this is a big shift in our profession, and it does take time, and it also can be a hard process. Anything in a change, a new growth area, especially as we get older, definitely takes a bit more time as our brains aren't as malleable as what they were when we were younger or learning students. If you have a look down the page here, there are some other videos to help in and around that shift and new areas and things that we can do to develop. If you want to access the full Moving Mindsets website with free professional learning and development set up in this same student-driven approach, click here. And again, please click on this icon up here to leave your questions, your feedback, challenging questions. It's all part of the process in moving towards cultural relationships for responsive pedagogy in our classroom. Kia ora.